What's happening, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Let me let my Discord friends know. All right, off and running. Hopefully it was a good weekend for everybody. Hopefully it was a successful one, a winning one. Hopefully we wrapped up some solid performances with a W this past weekend. A lot to get through, a lot to get into. We'll cover it all. We'll do a little bit of a recap of what went down this past weekend in Week 10. We'll talk about some potential waiver wire ads ahead of Week 11. And then, as always, taking your questions. Let's see. There's quite a bit to talk about based on what went down, what happened here this past weekend. Let's see. Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin are without a timetable to return. This is a wildly unfortunate development, especially around Bucky Irving, who was a late second-round pick in drafts this summer. They called him day-to-day. The Bucs did. The Bucs called Bucky Irving day-to-day. Shortly after he got injured, and now we're looking at he's been out for months at this point. So bad information provided by Tampa Bay, incorrect information. Maybe they weren't 100% sure what the situation was. Maybe they weren't 100% sure what the situation was with Bucky and his timeline and his return to health, but no timeline to return after this many weeks. Why did he not just go on injured reserve? Already looking unlikely for Week 11. Whether he's available for Week 12, yet to be determined. We shall see. Joe Burrow will return to practice this week. He will have his 21-day practice window opened today. I believe that already happened. The initial report was that Burrow hopes to play by Week 13. There was a more updated timeline that he may not be available until Week 14. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Brenton Strange, Jags tight end, will have his 21-day practice window opened this week as well, so he's making his way to a return. Jacksonville needs all the help that they can get. They put Travis Hunter on season-ending injured reserve. Surgery following an LCL injury, I believe, is what took place, is what happened here. Hunter out for the rest of the season. It's still an unfortunate, disappointing development, but not a huge surprise. Suffered a non-contact injury in practice. Non-contact injuries are never good, rarely anyway, at best. They often lead to lengthy absences, such is the case with Travis Hunter. But Brenton Strange coming back, I guess, on his way back for Jacksonville. Dalton Kincaid suffered a hamstring injury against the Miami Dolphins. He is considered week to week, so obviously it's still early, but plan not to have Dalton Kincaid for Week 11. Terry McLaurin's already been ruled out for Week 11. No surprise there. So is Jaden Daniels. Oronde Gadsden on Sunday Night Football suffered a bruised quad. He is day-to-day. The initial thought that I saw, this is on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So there's only so much, there's only so much details, so many details that we know now. But he could return this week and end up not missing any time. So no need to hit the panic button yet on Gadsden. Unfortunately, we do have to do that for Garrett Wilson. suffered a knee injury a few weeks ago, missed, I think, 2 games, came back this past week, played like 19 offensive snaps, re-aggravated the injury. It was either this injury that he re-aggravated or another recent injury separate from this one. Either way, it was the same knee. So probably a re-aggravation of the injury that he suffered a few weeks ago. Now expected to miss around 3 to 4 weeks. That's from the Jets and Giants beat reporters. Those guys they cover both teams. It's not too hard. They're both in the same building. But anyway, Garrett Wilson expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. We're at week 11. That puts us at week 15, potentially. We're looking at a return week 15, week 16 for Garrett Wilson. And the Jets, they're 2-7, right? Season's not really going anywhere for them. I don't want to, jump the gun or jump to any conclusions, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that we've seen the last of Garrett Wilson this year as the Jets refocus for the 2026 season and get one of their few key young pieces right and ready to go for the future, because this is yet another lost season for them. And even with Wilson in the lineup, they're not having any success on offense. Justin Fields doesn't look good. In general, they don't look good. So, there's only so much upside with Garrett Wilson the rest of the way, and that's even if he can get back on the field weeks 15 or 16. Obviously, stash him on IR if you can. If you can't and you are desperate for the roster spot, you are desperate to get active, healthy bodies to help push for your playoff push, and you don't feel like you have a guaranteed spot yet, you're still scratching and clawing and trying to make your way in. Wilson is approaching cut territory, unfortunately, in shallower leagues. Obviously not in keeper or dynasty leagues, but in shallow redraft leagues where you're on the outside of looking in for the playoff bubble, you may need to move on from Garrett Wilson. 3 to 4 weeks minimum, probably minimum, and the Jets season spiraling out. Not great. Not great all the way around. Mecole Hardman assigned to the Bills practice squad. They have much bigger issues than that at wide receiver, just in general. Ricky Pearsall expected to practice this week. He's been out since week 4. Can't possibly advocate firing him up this week in his first game back, but of course, that has to happen as well. But at least expected to practice this week. We'll see what comes of Ricky Pearsall's availability for week 11. Let's see. Ramondre Stevenson and Kayshon Boutte both tracking to return for the New England Patriots on Thursday night against the New York Jets, who I just got done talking about how their season is basically over already. So Stevenson returning would be a hit for Travion Henderson, although Henderson looked spectacular against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's going to be hard for New England to fully go away from him back to Ramondre in the way that they were. And Boutte, again, also tracking toward a return. He missed this past week. That opened the door for Kyle Williams, and he certainly took advantage and looked good doing it. So how the Patriots wide receiver core shakes out from here on out will be an interesting development to watch. But Kyle Williams, certainly in deeper leagues, maybe not 10-team, deep 10 teams, I guess, and a 12-team leagues and up, Kyle Williams absolutely putting himself squarely on the radar moving forward. Let's see, what else do we have here? Just going through updates. I see questions coming in the chat. I am streaming on Twitch. I don't typically simul-stream on Twitch, but this software now allows me to simul-stream on multiple platforms, which is exciting for me. So anybody who's watching from Twitch, welcome in. Appreciate it. This is new. I'm regularly on YouTube, on Twitch for the first time in a long time, to be honest. I'm not tech savvy. But I see questions. I promise I will get to them. Just getting through my updates. And waiver wire pickups. Let's see. Got the Hunter thing. J.K. Dobbins could be a candidate for injured reserve. This was according to the Broncos beat earlier today, a few hours ago. I can't imagine R.J. Harvey is available in your league. But if he is, get those waiver claims ready. Get those fab bids ready to go. Even if Dobbins does avoid IR, He's at least probably missing this week if he's a candidate for injured reserve. It would be a remarkable turnaround if Dobbins goes from IR candidate to active on game day in the same week. So RJ Harvey looking good in the short term and potentially the long term. We'll see. And the Packers placed their center, Jenkins, on injured reserve with the high ankle sprain that he suffered last night. Will miss at least 4 games. That hurts their offense. That it does. I mean, that's the starting center. That messes with the continuity of the offensive line. The Packers' offense has been struggling the past couple of games in general, so they're going to now have to navigate this. One of the mainstays on their offensive line missing a minimum of 4 games with a high ankle sprain. You're not pivoting off of Josh Jacobs, but depending on the matchup, we may be moving off of Love in 1 quarterback leagues and their wide receivers as well. We shall see. And the Cowboys activated DeMarvion Overshown from the PUP list. He gives them a boost on defense. Dallas may not be the pushover on defense that they had previously been to start the season. With Overshown coming back from the PUP list and with the acquisition of Quinnen Williams, they could be a little bit more formidable. The rest of the way. Time will tell. But they may not automatically be fire up your players against them anymore, like automatically. Okay, those are my updates. Just a quick roundabout on the waiver wire. Again, if you have what I'm about to talk about may not pertain to your situation specifically. Just an overarching thought process on waivers this week and which way to go. The top guy is probably Alec Pierce, regardless of position. Michael Pittman might be playing at less than 100%. It kind of doesn't matter. Pierce has been a starter for the Colts all season long. He has leapfrogged Josh Downs on the depth chart. Tyler Warren was making a ton of noise early on, but Pierce has developed and emerged as not just one of the better deep threats in the NFL, but he looks like just a rock-solid wide receiver in general. Had a very strong game in Berlin against the Falcons, a tough matchup by the numbers. Yes, the Colts are going on bye this week, so I'm not splurging all of my fab bucks, pronunciation, for a player who's not playing this week. But Pierce looks absolutely deserving of being added for anybody who needs the wide receiver depth. If your wide receiver depth is strong and running back is kind of the position that you are navigating to get through the rest of the season at this point, then maybe you can ignore Pierce and continue to focus on running back. But he's in the best offense in the NFL. The Colts, I think, they're leading the league in numerous categories on offense. So Pierce is going to be a big part of that rest of the way. I mean, 10% of your fab, it would be higher if they were playing this week, but they're not. Maybe don't go too crazy splurging on him, or spending like a high waiver priority on him because you're not going to be able to use him this week. But he absolutely looks deserving of being on rosters in most leagues. He looks great. A couple of guys potentially coming back from injury. In shallow leagues, Joe Burrow may have been dropped. Obviously, in most situations, he's probably being stashed on injured reserve. But any leagues where you don't have IR spots and maybe they were squeezed for depth, healthy options earlier in the season, and Burrow was a numbers casualty at that point. I mean, you might as well go grab him if that's the case. He deserves to be on rosters. Ideally, again, you had injured reserve spots for him anyway, but if you didn't and he's out there, now's the time. Trey Benson, same wavelength. I think he's closing in on a return. What was the latest update on Trey Benson? He should resume, lead back duties once he is back, whenever that is. He has missed a lot of time, but he was their third-round pick last year, still just 23 years old. He's missed 5 games. Let's see. I don't see any new updates on that, but maybe we'll be getting some good news here shortly. And then again, Ricky Pearsall as well for in other leagues where, again, if he was a numbers crunch, you don't have injured reserve, and he was dropped. He's worth a look as a stash. As far as guys that are healthy now and playing now, I mean, who are the bye weeks for Week 11? Just the Colts and the Saints. So the Colts with a bunch of heavy hitters, and the Saints with Chris Olave and, I guess Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson had a nice day against Carolina on Sunday. So Colts and Saints are on bye this week. It's not bye Mageddon, just a couple of teams on bye, so plenty of options available for you this week. I mean, the Buccaneers, if they're still out there, Tez Johnson looks like a full-time player now, especially with Chris Godwin not seemingly same wavelength as Bucky Irving, not close to a return, no timetable to return. As a 29-year-old receiver coming off a nasty ankle dislocation last year, Tez Johnson might be viable for at least another couple of weeks. So if you need some wide receiver depth and you need a body this week, it's shaping up like you could do worse than Tez Johnson. He looks good. And then his teammate, Cade Otton, is absolutely on the streaming radar at tight end with the continued injuries that Tampa's facing on offense. No Bucky, no Godwin. We already know they're without Mike Evans most of the rest of the year, if not the rest of the year outright. And I bring up Bucky just because running backs get those short and intermediate targets as well when they are involved in the receiving game. That impacts tight end targets. So Otton's opportunities should be stable, should be rock solid for at least another couple of weeks. If Christian Watson is out there, you can take a chance on him. He might be the last man standing in Green Bay. Romeo Doubs picked up a chest injury last night. I don't think he returned to the game after that. They were already without Matthew Golden last night. Jaden Reed is still on injured reserve. Dontavian Wicks keeps dropping the ball. I mean, Watson might be like last man standing in Green Bay. Absolutely worth a look if you need him. Trying to think if there's anybody else that makes sense. Parker Washington, he's been a trendy name for a couple of weeks now, dating back to when Travis Hunter got injured. It's now official that he's going to miss the rest of the season. Brian Thomas is dealing with injuries now. I don't know if he's day-to-day or what his likelihood is of playing Week 11, but Travis Hunter is definitively not coming back this year. So it's down to Brian Thomas, Jacoby Myers, and Parker Washington. Diami Brown, I think, is secondary compared to those guys. So deeper leagues or leagues where Washington is still available, he's worth a look. And then what did Luther Burden do this week in brutal conditions in Chicago? I know DJ Moore did nothing, quite literally nothing. I think he's hurt, but literal goose egg. 3 catches for 50 yards. I mean, things happen he makes plays, man, Luther Burden. Deeper leagues, 14, 16-team leagues. Cleared 50 yards receiving in 2 of his past 4 games. I mean, at some point, they're going to get this guy on the field a little bit more. He did play a career high in snaps. He played almost 50% of the team's snaps this past week, so that number could continue to trickle upward. Okay. Those were some general overarching thoughts on just the temperature check on around the league, and then, of course, waiver wire options. If I did not touch on a specific situation that pertains to you, feel free to bring it up, and we can talk shop. Let's get into it. If you have been here before, welcome back. If you are here for the first time, welcome in. Members will get first priority and response to questions. If you see me responding to a question that came in after you, but it's from a member, I'm not skipping you. I see your question, but a perk of being a member, one of the perks of being a member of the channel is getting questions responded to in priority order. You can find more details about becoming a member of the channel in the first link in the description of this live stream. You could also send a super if you are feeling generous. That would also be a way to jump the line and get your questions responded to in priority order, possibly get a little bit more out of me as far as the question, depending on how deep I need to go with how I'm analyzing it. If you are not a member and you do not send a super, I will answer your questions, but I do ask for some patience as I work through member questions and supers first. Whether or not you are a member, if you are enjoying the stream, the conversation, all that good stuff, if you could like the stream, that helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate it in advance. I see Sport Dog, who got a win this week. Seattle defense came up huge. They were massive. Thank you, Jacoby Brissett. I see Greg. I see Kevin. What's going on, guys? Thanks for popping in. Let's get right after it. Definitely not regretting dropping Jordan Love for Matthew Stafford. He has been unbelievable. I'm happy that worked out for you. Happy that worked out. Do you need to go after, and I'll highlight these questions, Greg, but I think it had a couple. Let's see. Lockett is available. Parker, Tucker, Judy. Judy caught a touchdown this past week. I think this is the first week that he's made any noise this year. Let's see. You do have Tez, so that's good. The fact that, Greg, you already have Tez in tow is a good sign that you already have some depth built in on your bench to replace Garrett Wilson, who you may not have the rest of the way. Again, not trying to jump the gun, not trying to speculate anything, but in a lost season for the New York Jets, it's Week 11. Garrett Wilson's expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. Optimistically, that puts him on track to return maybe Week 15 with 3 games left in the season for the Jets. What are they going to win? And one more game maybe in that next stretch? We're probably looking at like a 3-10, 3-11, 4-10 record for them between now and then. They could just shut Garrett Wilson down at this point. So it's good that you already have Tez. I think Parker Washington is a solid guy to take a shot on. Again, Travis Hunter's done for the season. He's not coming back. Parker Washington is viable rest of the way. And even if Brian Thomas comes back, he missed this past week, of course, due to injury. He's under the microscope right now, too. He hasn't been performing that well this year. So, Parker Washington, even with the acquisition of Jacoby Myers, could absolutely carve out a role here. A regular, consistent role, even with the addition of Myers and a potential return for Brian Thomas. So I think Parker makes sense. Is that Trey Tucker you're talking about there? Trey Tucker has had a couple of solid plays this year, a couple of good games here and there. He had a 3-touchdown performance. That was awesome. I think he had another game. I think he's got a couple other touchdowns on the season. I mean, he's had a nice stretch of games. The problem is the Raiders' offense in general. They look horrendous. I mean, they looked great against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but then they followed it up on Denver. And I know it was a short week and Denver's got a good defense, but they couldn't get anything going. Week to week, I just don't trust this Raiders offense. So Tucker is a matchup-based dart throw. Not that Jacksonville is anything spectacular on offense, but they're better than the Raiders. So I would prefer and lean Parker Washington over Trey. Not Lockett. Probably still not Judy. I don't trust the Browns. I don't trust the Browns offense. Dylan Gabriel looks, like a backup quarterback out there. He was dinged in the pre-draft process for not really having NFL caliber arm strength. That appears to be coming to fruition. I know Judy got the touchdown this past weekend. while they were trailing against a Jets defense that just traded away all of their talent. That's what it took for Jeudy to get going. I'm not necessarily chasing that one. I'm not into that one. I would say Parker, Greg, is the guy that you would focus on at wide receiver. And I wouldn't worry about any running backs, Greg. I mean, you have McCaffrey, you have Aaron Jones, you might be losing Dobbins, but McCaffrey is a beast. Aaron Jones has been looking good. Woody got involved. I guess you could take a shot on like a Sean Tucker, but I would prioritize a wide receiver because Garrett Wilson, I think, is a more significant loss than J.K. Dobbins, even though Garrett Wilson has had an incredibly up and down season. But the Dobbins loss isn't as bad since you have McCaffrey. I would probably go for Parker Washington. And I would hold Eddie at kicker. And then the Bills, yes, the Bills should have been more aggressive getting a wide receiver one. Did you see Billy Beane's comments after the trade deadline? He said something like, "Ooh, the trade deadline is hard." Well, then, dude, suit up and get, I don't know how those trade conversations went, but, you have Josh Allen, dog. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league who is propping up a good, not great team that has a chance to make a deep playoff run based on the quarterback alone. Go get him some help, man. The trade deadline is hard. Come on. What's that comment? That's such a bad comment by Billy Beane. I like Khalil Shakir. He's a solid player. He's not, he can operate as the team's de facto wide receiver one out of necessity, but he's not an alpha. He's never going to be a dude that we put in the top 10 wide receiver rankings, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful. Khalil Shakir's a good football player. He would be even better if he didn't have to operate as the team's wide receiver one. I mean, Keon Coleman had a decent performance this past weekend against Miami, but has been otherwise a no-show since week one. And then, they're relying on guys like Elijah Moore. They just signed Mecole Hardman. I mean, what are we doing here? Or Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane, Bills GM? I said Billy because of the Bills. I think I made a mistake there. It's Brandon Beane, right? Yeah. He called the trade deadline hard. It's hard to navigate. Dude, you're a general manager in the National Football League. I don't want to hear excuses. I'm not even a Bills fan. Come on now. Asleep at the wheel. And really quick Sport Dog. I don't want to make a call yet on quarterbacks. I think they play. Does Baltimore play Cleveland? So this would be one of those rare instances where, yes, okay, fine, I'll take Drake May over Lamar Jackson. But it is a Thursday night against a division opponent, so I don't know that I'm necessarily expecting fireworks. That being said, the Jets did trade all their defensive talent away, so I probably would go May. I don't want to spend too much time on start-sit questions today. If you do have start-sit questions, I highly encourage you to come back later in the week if you can. Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, before Thursday Night Football, and then Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, when we have practice reports, injury updates, and we can make a little bit more of a definitive call, and then also just general vibes. And Drake May's supporting cast, Ramondre Stevenson, Kayshon Boutte, what's their status? These are the details that matter to me when ultimately making a call. So I would lean May, but I'm not going to lock that in on a Tuesday. We've got a lot of time between now and kickoff to make a call. That being said, I am fine with dropping Keenan Allen for Alec Pierce if you do not need an active player this week. If you're set at wide receiver and your flex is covered and you're good for this week, you don't have too many bye weeks or injuries that are hurting you from setting a normal, strong, solid starting lineup, I'm okay with dropping Allen for Alec Pierce. Pierce looks great. He looks like he's ascending. He's attached to, by all the metrics, one of the best offenses in football. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Pierce. Okay, I think I got all the member questions. Greg, let me know if you need anything else with your pickups. And of course, if any member question, if members have any other questions, I'll keep an eye out. If any other members pop in, I will keep an eye out. Let's go back up to the top of the chat. Appreciate everybody's patience as I work through these. Okay, so this is a start-sit question. Again, if I would encourage you, if you can, I'll give you a brief answer, just initial thoughts. But for anybody with start-sit questions, I strongly encourage you to come back later in the week when we have more information, when we have practice reports and injury updates. That being said, I mean, you're playing Adams if he plays. At this point, you're playing Tez Johnson. Who's Tampa playing this week? The Bills. That's a huge matchup. Could be a lot of fireworks in that game. I would plan to start Tez. I would definitely plan to start Tez. He's hot right now. And then, I got to look at it between QJ, Myers, Addison, Washington. And then I'd be inclined to fire up Henderson just because of how good this past week was, but we got to see what the vibe is on Ramondre Stevenson going into Thursday Night Football. He's been practicing in a limited fashion so far this week. Obviously, practice reports on a short week for Thursday Night Football only give you so much information, but the fact that he has returned, do they go right back to him? Do they lean more on Henderson after his great performance this past week in a tougher matchup? I don't know. That being said, I might have a hard time keeping Henderson out of my lineup, so that might be the guy that I try to get into one of my running back spots. And then tentatively, it's like Devontae for sure, Tez Johnson for sure, and then the third guy, I would need to look at it. The Vikings get the Bears at home this week, so maybe Addison. That's not a bad matchup. But I do, if you can come back later in the week, I would encourage that. And yes, you got it, Greg. I would go after Parker Washington, get yourself some wide receiver depth that looks like they'll be relevant rest of the way. Tucker's fine as a dart throw, take a shot on it running back, but I would not prioritize that as much as the wide receiver. And Eddie is worth hanging on to, especially with Purdy coming back. So I think you'll be good there. Start 3. Yeah, okay, so again, let's come back in the week if you can when we have a little bit more information, but I can't believe I'm saying this. We may have reached the point where do we bench A.J. Brown? The Eagles play the Lions this week. There could be some fireworks in Philly. Every week we feel like, we got to go back to I've been saying it. We got to go back to A.J. Brown. He's a stud. He's awesome. He's got the track record. He's got the pedigree. He's got the wide receiver 1 target share. He's in a good offense. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's happened a couple times this year, but more often than not, it hasn't. And coming out of this, the Eagles played last night coming off their bye week, so it wasn't like, they had rest, they had time off, they had an extra day off because they played on Monday night. I mean, at what point do we just say we can't trust A.J. Brown anymore? Tentatively, I may, start those other 3 names. I may start those other 3 guys. I mean, Ladd McConkey for sure. I think he's a top 5 wide receiver since week 4 or 5. But yeah, I do encourage the start-sit questions to come back. I have multiple live streams again this week. Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 2 hours before kickoff of the Thursday game. Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll go as long as need be to get through questions. I do encourage start-sit questions to come back then. We just have more information later in the week than we do now. But I might say right now, Rome, Ladd, and Travion Henderson. That might be my thought. Traded Johnston for Harvey before last week. Hey, pat yourself on the back. That's a good deal. And now Dobbins is looking like he might be not just missing this week, but could be a candidate for injured reserve. You made out quite well there. You made out quite well there. I mean, Quentin's been decent. He's been all right. He had five for 42 against the Steelers. He had 10 targets. That's good. But, I mean, if I had to pick now between Quentin Johnston and R.J. Harvey, given the latest update about J.K. Dobbins, I would much rather have Harvey. What's going on, Crumply Heads? Good to see you. And, Greg, it is I'm the Daniel Jones ascension into where he is now is one of the more unprecedented things I never would have seen that coming. But I'm happy for him. I'm always happy to see players find success at some point or other. Crumblyhead's going to send 4 first-round picks for Jonathan Taylor. Hey, man, look, that's probably what it would take for me to give up Jonathan Taylor right now. And if you have the draft capital and you have the best team in the league, like top 2 team in the league, and you're going to get yourself Jonathan Taylor to put yourself over the top to go for the championship, who am I to say no? That's a steep price, but it is the RB1. So that's going to be the asking price. That's the asking price. That's what I would need. If I was in a dynasty situation and I had a rebuild, I was staring down a rebuild, but I had Jonathan Taylor, it's like, yep, 4 firsts and he's yours. Or 3 firsts and some intriguing prospect at least. Yep, that's gonna be what it takes to get it done. But draft capital is hit or miss. A championship is forever. So who am I to say no? As long as you have the squad, as long as you have the team, don't make a blockbuster move in Dynasty where you're selling all your draft capital if you have like a middle of the pack team and you're trying to get into the top 3. Do it when you're already top 3 and you're looking for that move to put you over the top. I think you do have a top 3 squad. I think you do have if I remember correctly, I do think you have a solid squad in that league. So go for it, man. Go for it. Live a little, right? Let's live a little. So Warren on bye. Yeah, I mean, Otten against Buffalo looks good. Dalton Schultz. Who's Houston playing this week? And I don't know if C.J. Stroud is back. The Titans. I mean, that's a good matchup. And then Theo is. Who are the Giants playing? I don't know. That's right. They get the Packers coming off of Monday Night Football. Maybe not that one. I'd probably say Otten here. And the only thing I'm going off of on Tuesday, 5-6 days before kickoff, is of the guys that you mentioned, Otten is catching the ball from the best quarterback. Baker Mayfield is better than C.J. Stroud or Davis Mills, whoever starts for Houston this week. And he's better than Russell Wilson in the event that Jackson Dart has to miss the game. He has a concussion, so Dart may not play this week against Green Bay. So if it's Russell Wilson, no way. If it's Russell Wilson, I don't want to start a single Giant this week. I'll take the guy catching the ball from Baker Mayfield over the guy catching the ball from C.J. Stroud or Davis Mills. I would say Otten. Oh, it was a start 2, not 3. Roman Ladd, if I guess, if Ramondre Stevenson is back. But let's see what the practice reports look like after today. Or after tomorrow for the Thursday night game. Let's see. Would I start Brissett or Bo Nix this week? Yeah, the Cardinals have Denver as Kansas City, right? I know that. So I'd rather not play. And also, Bo Nix has not looked great recently. Jacoby gets the 49ers at home. No Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner. That's probably where I would go. I would probably go Jacoby Brissett. But again, I do encourage you to come back later in the week. If the vibe could change, an injury report could change something. But tentatively today, right now, I would say Jacoby Brissett over Bo Nix, given the matchups. And then Charbonnet, Tajay Spears, Rashid Shaheed, or Tyler Algier. I think the Falcons get the Panthers at home, so that's pretty good for Algier. Shaheed is in his second game with the Seahawks. Maybe he's going to be a little bit more acclimated for this week. We don't know how long it's going to take for him to get fully up to speed in Seattle's offense. Are they playing the Rams this week? They are in L.A. Massive, massive game between Seattle and L.A. The L.A. Rams, not L.A. Chargers, with the NFC West pretty much like it's time to lock in. It's time to lock in and focus on those division championship crowns. Big division matchup this week between the Rams and the Seahawks. Spears against Houston. I don't love that. I like Spears. I don't like the matchup. I don't like the Titans' offense. Charbonnet had a solid performance this past weekend against the Cardinals on the road in L.A. I don't know if I like that as much. I may say Algier here, but again, I would encourage you to come back later in the week if you can. Again, all it takes is one practice report, one injury update for me to completely flip any start-sit advice that I give you today, Tuesday. I'm saying this for everybody. I'm totally fine with start-sit questions. I don't want to deter people from asking questions. By all means, if you want to ask something, ask something. But start-sit in particular, it's just hard to answer this early in the week when we literally have, other than the Thursday night football game, we don't have any other information yet because teams have not started practicing yet. So all it takes is one update. Like, oh, that guy's hurt, that guy's questionable, that guy's on the injury report, like that. It might not even be the player we're talking about. It could be an offensive lineman. It could be one of his weapons. All it takes is one update for me to say, I actually don't want to do that anymore. So I do encourage you to come back later in the week if you can for start-sit questions. And Greg has another question about the Patriots. Honestly, good job holding them. Any fab for Atlanta? I mean, in theory, yes. It's a great matchup against the Carolina Panthers at home. But, and you guys can care about these types of details all you want. I to a fault, I tend to pay attention to this stuff. The Falcons they just played in Germany, right? They just had to play in Berlin. And now they got to fly all the way back to Atlanta, and they got to play a game the following week. There's no bye week. It used to be, I know it's not the case anymore for every team, but it used to be that when you played an international game, when you played in London, when you played in Spain, when you played in Germany, when you played in Europe, you got a bye week the next week. So all that international travel, you kind of get your chance to reset your body, your mind, get back on your normal routine. Now the Falcons have to play a game the week after that game, after the Berlin game. I don't know. I just don't I feel like that can mess with you. That can mess with your routine, your rhythm. I'm talking about intangible stuff, but this is why we talk ball, right? I like to look at things outside the box, like. And then on top of that, Atlanta is just like they are the kings of being contrarian. When you think you have them figured out, they remind you that you don't have them figured out. They'll win a huge game against the Buffalo Bills, and then they'll look like crap the next week against an inferior opponent on paper. I think it was Carolina the next week, and they didn't do well. And now they have a revenge game against Carolina this week, so I guess that's good. I just can't. They are if Jekyll and Hyde was a football team, it's Atlanta, and that's not even this year. That's every year. Every time you think you have the Falcons figured out, you don't have them figured out. So they're very volatile, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's a great matchup on paper. I just don't know how much I trust them. And their defense played pretty decently, even though Jonathan Taylor had like 600 rushing yards in that game. I think their defense was actually not that bad. They were for the most part kind of up for the challenge against the Colts. What are they going to do now? Are they going to have a good game against Carolina, or are they going to have a letdown even after a loss? The Patriots get the Jets on a short week. Basically, I think what I'm getting at is just play the Patriots. They get the Jets on a short week at home, right? That game is in New England, I think. It is. It's in New England. Yeah. I mean, I would probably just play the Patriots. There's no Garrett Wilson. Justin Fields doesn't look good. And they gave up on their season at the trade deadline. I know they won this past week, but that was against Cleveland. The Patriots are much better than the Browns. I would just play New England. Thank you for allowing me to get on my soapbox and spiel a little bit about the Atlanta Falcons, but that was my long-winded way, Greg, of saying just play the Patriots. Focus your fob on Parker Washington. You have a few questions. I don't see them, so feel free to post them, and I'm happy to talk shop. Feel free to get them in there. I got the member questions, so jumping on down. Trade Tyrone Tracy and DeMercado for Gadsden and Alec Pierce. Yes. Yes, I would. If you're acquiring Gadsden and Pierce and you don't have a clear start, if you have like Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Tyler Warren, George Kittle, then I'm not as interested in Gadsden. But if you don't have one of those guys, maybe you had Tucker Kraft and you lost him. Maybe you have Dalton Kincaid and you lost him, and you get to upgrade. You get to pivot to Gadsden and pick up Alec Pierce in the process for two mid running backs, one of whom is probably going to lose his job soon enough in DeMercado, assuming Trey Benson comes back at some point. Yes, and I know, and Tyrone Tracy, at the end of the day, his numbers look decent against the Bears. He looked okay. Devin Singletary still, I think, received more work, more snaps, more opportunities. Tyrone Tracy does nothing for me, respectfully. If you're acquiring Gadsden and Pierce, I'd be all over that. I'd be all over that. If you're acquiring Gadsden and Pierce, if you're acquiring Tracy and DeMercado, you're only doing that if you are like dead at running back. You maybe you lost. Maybe you're about to lose J.K. Dobbins. Maybe you've piecemealed it together with other guys who are on bye or who are hurt or whatever. Even then, I don't love it. If you can move off those running backs and you have other decent running backs, like you have a decent running back room, and you're acquiring Gadsden and Pierce, and you have a need at tight end, then I'm in. Then I'm in on it. Trade Javonte for James Cook? I mean, sure. Sure, they've both been great. The Bills, I just got done talking about it a little while ago. They utterly failed at the trade deadline to upgrade their offense in the form of another wide receiver, which they pretty clearly needed and didn't do anything about it. They signed McCole Hardman to the practice squad, like whatever. So, yeah, I mean, the offense is going to have to continue to run through James Cook, running it and catching it. If you can do this trade straight up, I'm fine with it. I mean, both have been good. Both are on great offenses. I think both are going to continue to be RB1s for the rest of the way. I guess if I had to rank the running backs for the rest of the season, I would put James Cook ahead of Javonte Williams just because of full body of work to this point. So, sure, if you are acquiring James Cook and trading Javonte in a 1-for-1 swap, sure. I'm sure. I'm fine with that. There's not any reason to be worried about like their end of season schedule, is it? Is there like their playoff schedule? How's the Bills' playoff schedule looking? James Cook from here on out gets Tampa Bay, Houston. That's not great, but at least it's not a playoff week. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, week 14. New England and Cleveland, weeks 15 and 16, both on the road, is not great for James Cook. That's not great. I don't love that. But I do believe in the talent, and I don't want to be too off-put by bad matchups, especially because that's so far from now. Who knows what could happen between now and then. Javonte gets Vegas, Philly, Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota, the Chargers, and then Washington. That is a little better, but not so substantially better that it changes my answer. I think I'm okay with acquiring James Cook for Javonte for the rest of the way. I think I'm good with that. And yeah, Greg, if you have the space and Burrow is out there, he's worth stashing. If you can find room to add him. I would be okay with that. I would be okay with grabbing Burrow. Yeah. You may not use him, but somebody might be interested in him, and then all of a sudden, maybe you're getting a solid wide receiver for him, or a decent running back depth for him. Yes, Joe Burrow is worth grabbing, regardless of what your situation is at quarterback, if he's available. If you have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Drake May, Mahomes, like, okay, fine, maybe you ignore it, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's worth it. Let's see. What else do we have here? I am motoring through these questions so far, actually. Well, you guys may not feel that way, but I'm near the end of the chat, less than an hour in. So appreciate everybody's patience. Would I pick up Flacco or stick with Brissett? The Bengals are coming out of their bye week, so they had some time to rest and get right and get ready for a big matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is on the road. Jacoby gets the 49ers at home. It's a good matchup by the numbers. It's a good matchup for Flacco. The Steelers have been getting cooked through the air. And they are coming off their bye week. It's scary. It's like not scary, but it's volatile, right? Because Flacco at this stage of his career and Jacoby Brissett just in general, I mean, we saw Jacoby Brissett turn back into a pumpkin this past weekend. That's not to say that that's going to happen again. We've also seen Flacco turn into a pumpkin. I mean, that's what happens when you're 40 years old. Some days you have it, some days you don't. I guess I trust Flacco a little bit more than Jacoby. Both are in decent matchups by the numbers. But I guess just based on the fact that Jacoby had a bad game this past week and Flacco's coming out of his bye week, I think I lean Flacco. I'll answer it this way. Pick him up. And then we can decide who we want to start later in the week. But I would definitely pick him up to at least give yourself the option. The flexibility of, like, what do I want to do here? How do I want to approach this week? And again, I'll say, I'm happy to say it again. the answer on a Tuesday to a start-sit question can change like that, with one simple practice update, one simple injury update where it's like this key offensive lineman is banged up, this key wide receiver is banged up or hurt. Like, we don't have that information yet. We just don't. So my answer to this question is yes to pick him up. Who you start, we can figure that out later in the week. But I would pick up Flacco to at least give yourself the option. What's going on, Rojo? Good to see you. That would be awesome if Burrow is back by Thanksgiving. I think I saw that there's a more realistic timeline is week 14, not week 13. But, I think most objective football fans, other than Steelers and Ravens fans, are rooting for Joe Burrow to come back. Maybe Bills and Chiefs fans too. Basically, the AFC contenders don't want to see Joe Burrow come back, but objective NFL and football fans in general want the Bengals to keep winning some games, or start winning some games is maybe the better way to phrase that, to give them reason to bring Burrow back this year. So, any Steelers fans are going to disagree with me intensely this week on that. But if Burrow can make his return, that would make things super interesting in the wild card race. Probably not the division race, but certainly the wild card race. But we'll see. Achane, Saquon, Henderson, Waddle. Yeah, you're playing Achane, you're playing Saquon. If Ramondre is active, I would probably go with Waddle. Just because Waddle is the unquestioned wide receiver one for the Dolphins. And if Ramondre comes back, yes, Henderson, I'm so happy that Henderson balled out this past weekend. He killed it. I think he showed his talent. He flashed his big play ability. We saw what he can do. I cannot sit here, though, and definitively say or tell anybody this is his backfield now, because I don't know what the Patriots coaching staff is thinking. They have shown a lot of grace and a lot of confidence and support for Ramondre Stevenson up until this point this year. So I don't know if it's automatically Trayvon's backfield. It may not need to be for him to come through rest of the way. But if Ramondre is back siphoning 12 to 15 carries a game, that's going to severely impact Henderson's chances of making a fantasy-relevant impact, having a fantasy-relevant performance week over week. If Ramondre is active for this game, I probably would put Waddle in over Henderson, and I don't feel too bad about it in your specific situation because you have two other stud running backs to hang your hat on. You have Achane, you have Saquon. Those dudes are horses. Henderson could be developing into that, but we don't know yet. We don't know what. Now it's interesting, right? This is what we were waiting for. Henderson to break out and then see what happens if and when Ramondre, gets hurt, Henderson pops, and then Ramondre comes back. What is this going to look like? How's that going to shake out? Now we're going to find out. Unfortunately, it makes it dicey to advocate for Trayvon Henderson to start this week. For you to put him in your lineup, that is. But we will get, the clarity that maybe we were looking for all season long. What is Henderson's role following a breakout if Ramondre's back in the lineup? Time will tell. I would probably go Waddle over Henderson if Ramondre's active. But we shall see. What's going on, E11? E111, good to see you. Let's see. Trade Diggs and Harvey for Bowers, or Adunze and Harvey for Bowers. Yeah, so I will answer your question with a series of questions of my own. Who's your current tight end? I'm going to assume because you're trying to make this deal to get Bowers, I'm going to assume you don't have Trey McBride, you don't have Tyler Warren, you don't have George Kittle. And if you had Tucker Kraft or Dalton Kincaid, then you're hurting even more and needing to fill that void. That would be one thing. The other question is, what does the depth look like of the rest of your lineup, the rest of the position players? Are you strong at wide receiver? Are you strong at running back? Because if you give up R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins is a candidate to go on injured reserve according to the Broncos beat. That hasn't been made official yet. I've not seen any new updates. Now I'm going to double check because I'm a psycho. Yeah, no new updates. But J.K. Dobbins could go on injured reserve. So, do you really want to trade R.J. Harvey right now when his stock is up? You have Goddard currently. Goddard's been pretty good. He was just okay last night, but on the season, he's been rock solid. So, what does your running back depth look like? Because R.J. Harvey looks like his stock is going up. If Dobbins is going on injured reserve, not confirmed yet, but he's a candidate according to the Broncos beat. Nobody's more plugged in than the beat reporters. So if they're reporting it, then it's real, or the possibility is real. So, what does your running back depth look like? What does your wide receiver depth look like? You have Diggs and Adunze. Do you have, at least one other stud wide receiver and another upper echelon wide receiver to hang your hat on to make that trade a little bit more palatable? There's a lot of variables at play here, and in general with trade questions. Are you trading? Now I'm just kind of talking to anybody who wants to listen. Are you trading from a position of strength to address a position of weakness? I know this sounds obvious, but sometimes, we see names and we don't necessarily. It's like we want to make sure we are addressing positions that we can improve upon. Dallas Goedert is not necessarily, a weak spot of your lineup. He's obviously not one of the big four: Bowers, McBride, Warren, Kittle. It was Tucker Kraft in there as well, but unfortunately he's out for the year. But Goddard's like a pretty damn good consolation prize, all things considered. And then, are you strong at wide receiver? Are you strong at running back? R.J. Harvey looks like he could be, stock is up right now. Do we really want to move him to address a position that's not, it's not a need for you in the way that it would be if you had lost Tucker Kraft, if you had lost Dalton Kincaid, if you had a T.J. Hawkinson who has been bad this year, It's like different scenarios call for different courses of action, right? So I don't know that I necessarily want to do this, depending on the rest of your build. Taylor, Judkins, Marks, Harvey, CD, London, Adunze, Diggs. I'm not trading. I don't want to trade Harvey. Because Taylor's on bye for you this week. Judkins is great. Woody Marks is a matchup-based play. So, I don't want to do this deal. Because Harvey is valuable depth for you, and now his stock is going up because Dobbins, again, according to the Broncos beat, and nothing's confirmed yet, but he could be a candidate to go on injured reserve. If you are a candidate to go on injured reserve, you're probably a long shot to play for at least this week. So Harvey could be looking at a bell cow role as soon as this Sunday. So, I don't really want to trade him. I think I would hold. And then my last thought here is, Bowers rocks, but then of course the Raiders' offense is impossible to trust week to week. Let's see. And Greg, I did see the Burrow question. My answer is yes. If you can, pick him up. If you can find the space, pick him up. And congrats, he won one. That's 5 out of 7 leagues. That's a damn good week. I think I had a similar performance this week. I think I won in 5 leagues and I lost in 2. We'll take it. And for anybody who follows along in the Scott Fish Bowl, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the Scott Fish Bowl, but I am in the Scott Fish Bowl this year for the first time, and I clinched the playoffs. Clinched playoffs this week. That's a weird league. It's like there's like 5,000 participants, so it's like it's not your average 10 or 12 team draft. But 14-6 record for your boy. Clinched a playoff spot there this week. I think it becomes best ball in the playoffs, like after week 11. Who knows? I'm happy that I'm having a good performance in my first year in that league. Okay. Patriots versus the Jets, Packers versus the Giants. Yeah, I mean, I would probably plan to play New England. It's a short week. The Jets have to go on the road to play a good division opponent. Those two teams are going in opposite directions, right? The Patriots are they are contending for the division championship, and the Jets are contending for the number 1 overall pick. And they don't have Garrett Wilson. So, yeah, I mean, I would take New England of these names. I think the Packers are on the road, the Ravens are on the road, the Chargers are on the road. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have bad performances, but I like them a little bit less. Although the Packers would be probably fine if Russell Wilson is the starter for the Giants and not Dart. But we may not know that. We may not know that until after the Thursday night game is played. Patriots are probably solid, and then Packers would be number 2 here for me. And then really quickly, I see everybody's questions, but again, for anybody who's just joining me, members get first priority to responses. I'm not skipping questions. I see them. I hear you. I will get to them. Appreciate everybody's patience. That was that trade where they were offering you Walker and Charbonnet for something. Was it Kincaid or something? But it didn't happen. I mean, I don't really want to. They got their third running back, George Halani. I think they got him involved this past weekend. I don't know if that's going to be a regular, normal thing, but if this is going to be a three-headed monster Seattle backfield, then it's hard to justify giving up anything of value for any of them. I don't know what a potential offer that I would feel comfortable with would even look like. So I don't know that I would necessarily go in that direction. It's a good situation. The Seahawks are a winning team. They have a good offense. Sam Darnold is playing very well. But if they're going to get a third guy in the mix on a consistent basis, then good luck to all of us trying to figure out what to do with the Seahawks running backs. So I would maybe press pause on that, given the development of this past weekend. Let's see. Woody's on waivers as an RJ Harvey. I think it's Harvey. I'm not. I guess league winning schedule. League winning upside. Yeah, it's Harvey. He's got the draft capital. He's on the best team of this group. Well, Kansas City's the better team, but Denver's got the better record. And if Dobbins misses time, Harvey's going to get a bell cow workload. I mean, Jaleel McLaughlin, Tyler Batty, they're the guys they're the backups, right, for the Broncos. Like, they're the third and fourth options. I mean, they drafted RJ Harvey in the second round for a reason. If Dobbins has to miss time, they're going to go to RJ Harvey. And we've already seen him flash big play upside on limited opportunities. If he gets a 60 to 65% snap share, and that might just be me being modest, conservative with those projections, I mean, that's got to be at least an RB2. I think I would make Harvey my priority. Benson would be number 2 for me, but I don't think we have a timeline yet for his return. and then I guess rest of season. I mean, top 24, but that's like with Dobbins in the picture. If Dobbins is not in the picture, then I would probably put him in the, 17, 18 range. Like RB2, RB1 upside, we're probably not going to rank him in RB1 each week just because of the talent ahead of him, but the opportunity would be wide open for him to take over and start putting up top 15 weeks on a consistent basis if Dobbins misses time. Of those names, it would be Harvey for me. It would be Harvey. Yeah. And then again, with start sit questions on Tuesdays, I do encourage everybody to come back if you can. We just don't have all the information that we need yet. Practice reports, injury updates, all that good stuff. That being said, if you can come back breaking news. What's this breaking news? Eagles cornerback Jair Alexander has informed the team he is stepping away to focus on getting right physically and mentally. Okay. Jair Alexander will not be playing for the Eagles anytime soon, even though they just traded for him. At least that's what it looks like. Okay. Obviously, hope he's all good. Hopefully he's all right. Rehab, recovery, whatever is needed for Jair. But this is a fantasy football stream, and I gotta keep it moving on that. But obviously, hopefully he's all good. Okay. Judkins, White, Swift, Vidal. Yeah, I mean, Judkins for sure. Rachaad White against the Bills, I guess, should be fine. Could be high scoring. If the Bucs are trailing on the road, they'll throw the ball to Rachaad White. He's not great, but he should continue to get volume with no Bucky Irving. Vidal gets the Jags. Swift gets the Vikings. Swift looked good this past weekend. My first thought is those first three names. But if we're getting any vibes that Sean Tucker is going to get more involved for Tampa, then maybe I switch out White for Vidal. Judkins and Swift for sure, though. Judkins and Swift for sure. Leaning White today, that could change if we get any different vibes over the course of the week. Sean Tucker gets more involved, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. Better defense to start. Seattle, who is playing the Rams on the road, so I don't like that. The Chargers are on the road against Jacksonville. That's okay. Dallas coming out of their bye week. Who are the Cowboys playing this week? The Raiders. It might be Dallas. I mean, they've kind of changed things around a little bit for themselves over the past couple of weeks. They traded for Quinnen Williams, and they just activated DeMarvion Overshown off of the PUP list. He's probably not going to be, what he looked like pre-injury, at least not right away. But if he's able to return this week, that absolutely gives them a boost. The Raiders have looked awful on offense for much of this season. I know they popped against Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago, but they've been an inconsistent offense. Geno has been awful. They lost their best offensive lineman to injury against the Broncos. He may miss the rest of the season. I think the answer here is Dallas. I would stream the Cowboys against the Raiders. Seattle is great. They're the better unit. But they got to go on the road and play Matthew Stafford, who is playing lights-out football right now. Greg already knows. Matthew Stafford is playing great football right now. I don't really want to play the Seahawks in that environment. I don't want to drop them. And I know you don't probably want to, roster hold two defenses. But I don't want to play the Seahawks this week on the road against the Rams. I would probably play the Cowboys, who are getting defensive help. Trade and Williams, pup activation and Overshown coming off their bye week. I would probably play Dallas against the Raiders. Probably play Dallas against the Raiders. You have Bo Nix and Sam Darnold. You are right to be worried about Bo. He has not looked good. Do you drop him for Aaron Rodgers? I don't think I would drop him because Rodgers hasn't been, you want to talk about a predictable offense. The Steelers, it's DK Metcalf, and the Chargers set the blueprint, which was already pretty well known. Just blanket DK Metcalf and make their ancillary options beat you, and in all likelihood, they can't. I would just bench Bo Nix and rock with Sam Darnold. First of all, Darnold is in a great bounce-back spot this week. I just got done talking about how the electric the Rams' offense is. They're going to score points, which means the Seahawks' offense needs to plan to keep pace. I like Darnold quite a bit this week as a quarterback stream. He might be, I'd have to look at it, he might be the top stream of the week in one quarterback leagues. There could be a lot of points scored in that Rams-Seahawks matchup. I wouldn't worry about picking up Aaron Rodgers. I would just bench Bo Nix and start Darnold this week. Yeah, I wouldn't drop Bo, but I would play Darnold, let Bo be on your bench for another week or two, and if he's bad again, then okay, maybe we cut ties. And then need a 1-week quarterback between Brock, who we don't even know if he's going to play. Jacoby gets the San Francisco at home. McCarthy gets the Bears at home. McCarthy gets the Bears at home. Tua gets who are the Dolphins playing? I don't even know matchups this week yet. They're starting to come into focus because now, that's right. They get Washington in Munich. That's right. Miami and Washington are the Madrid game. They're in Spain this week. I hate international games for streaming options. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Obviously, you start your studs in international games, but I do not like streaming options in international games. It's just like I don't like playing that game. Like body clocks are thrown off even more than long travel across this country. You got to cross even more time zones into Europe. I don't like messing around with that. It's between Jacoby Brissett and J.J. McCarthy. Jacoby probably has the better matchup because San Francisco is missing Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. McCarthy probably has a little bit more upside as the young, intriguing prospect, but it is a revenge game for Chicago. If you remember, the Vikings beat the Bears week 1 of this season, so the Bears surely have revenge on their minds. I don't know if I forget if Arizona and San Francisco have played already this year. They may have. It doesn't matter. Arizona's not good, and if they did play, then Kyler played that game. So different dynamic. I think I lean McCarthy. Like, I'll take the upside of the young blood, the young prospect. Brissett turned back into a pumpkin this past week. He could be fine. It's a good matchup against San Francisco. He should be fine. His weapons are decent. I think I trust the Vikings offense more, their system, their head coach. I think I trust the environment that McCarthy is in a little bit more than in Arizona. I'll slightly lean McCarthy over Brissett. And I know McCarthy wasn't great this past week. But, he was a little bit better than I think Jacoby was. That's a good point. Dallas lost, obviously, rest in peace. These are the type of things that you can't put on a spreadsheet, right? These are the type of things that we can't quantify, anything like that. they lost a brother. When Nyland, when he passed, that again, we can't put that on a spreadsheet as a data point and be like, this is how I think this is going to go. Now we're just talking about pure, raw human emotion, right? This is an excellent point. These are the types of intangibles that I like looking at, that I like thinking about. This is a good call out by E111. Like, at least for this week, and it's going to be for the rest of the season, but especially so in that first game where they get the opportunity to honor him and go out and ball out for him. These are the types of things where you can't quantify this. You can't look at a spreadsheet. You can't look at numbers and crunch the data and look at the matchup and say, well, based on these past performances, none of that. That's all out the window in these types of scenarios. Just based on that alone, on top of the matchup, the Cowboys might be a solid stream this week on defense. Yeah. That's a good call out. It's a good call out. I got the quarterback question. I took McCarthy slightly over Jacoby. Better for playoffs, Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow? I mean, Burrow feels like the one that's more likely to come back this year. And I know, like, both teams are in very similar situations, right? Washington and Cincinnati, they both have 3 wins. All of the narratives have been, they're not a good team. It's falling apart. The Bengals defense couldn't stop a college offense. The Commanders got old, and they have a bunch of injuries. And now they're they're way outside the playoff race. The difference between the Bengals and the Commanders, though, is the AFC North has been a hodgepodge this year. And there's not a clear, nobody has run away with the division. Whereas in the NFC East, the Eagles are 4 games up on Washington, or 3.5, whatever it is. The Eagles have had their bye week. Washington hasn't yet, so Washington has played the extra game. But Philly has 4 more wins and 5 fewer losses than Washington. That is a significant difference between what Cincinnati is battling right now with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I think that by that, it's Burrow. Just because his chances of coming back, just based on that, to me, are a little bit better. That's what it would come down to for me. It would be Burrow. Start 3, 2 backs and a flex. Henderson, Harvey, Vidal, Charbonnet, Christian Watson. I mean, I'm going to probably tell you to start those first 2 running backs. And again, this answer could change as we get more details about practice reports and injury updates over the course of the week. And Henderson is going to lose some opportunities to Ramondre Stevenson. I would say R.J. Harvey for sure. J.K. Dobbins sounds like he's going to miss time. He hasn't been put on injured reserve yet, but he's been qualified as a candidate for injured reserve, according to the Broncos beat. So Harvey might be ascending in a big way and at the right time for folks who held on to him. Harvey for sure. I might go Christian Watson, full PPR, big-time playmaker on an offense that all of their wide receivers are banged up right now. And this is an easier matchup coming in against the Giants than he had last night against the Eagles. I'd probably go Watson in full PPR. It comes down to Henderson versus Vidal for me. I might say Vidal just because Ramondre is expected to return for the Patriots, but damn, if Henderson didn't give us something to think about against Tampa Bay this past weekend. Harvey for sure. I think I'm saying Watson for sure. Come back if you can on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking shop ahead of Patriots-Jets. And if we're getting any vibes about Ramondre Stevenson, whether he's going to have his full workload or if Henderson is taking 1A opportunities. Like, even with the Thursday game, I know it's only 48 hours away, but we could get more updates on that game. What is Ramondre's role going to be? Do we expect him to take a back seat to Henderson coming into the game? Do we expect him to operate as the 1A coming into the game? We may get updates. We may get different reports about what we can expect before the game actually kicks off. And then all of a sudden, that might change the narrative about what we want to do with Travion Henderson one way or another. I would say Harvey, Christian Watson, and then one of either Henderson or Vidal. Let's see what Thursday brings as far as Ramondre's availability and if we get any new updates about what we can expect. All right. Where am I at? I haven't missed any member questions yet. All right. Which defense would I add and start this week? New England won. They're playing the Jets. Short week. At home. No Garrett Wilson. New England won. I would say Dallas 2. And I just got done talking about that. E111 brought up a good point about how, they might be, there may be like extra emotional juice for the Cowboys this week after the loss of their teammate. But also they're coming off their bye week. They traded for Quinnen Williams, and Overshown is back from the PUP list. He may not be back to being what looked like an all-pro in his first game back, but he will give them a boost, I would have to imagine. And they're playing the Raiders. Like, I want to play defenses against Geno Smith this year, just point blank. So I put Dallas 2. I guess I would put Atlanta 3 because they're at home against Carolina. But the Falcons are the Jekyll and Hyde of the NFL. Like, when you think you have them figured out, they do the exact opposite. When you think they suck, they get a good win against a good team. And when you think that they're like, oh, they're making some moves, they lose a game against a team that you would expect them to win. I don't trust them, especially coming back from Germany and having to play the same week. Like, that's hard. That is challenging. When you have to play a game right after a Europe trip, that's challenging. But the matchup is good enough, and they're at home, so I'll put them 3rd. I'll put the Chargers last, and it's not because I don't have faith in them. They should be perfectly fine against Jacksonville, but it's a road game. They just played a primetime game against the Steelers on Sunday night at home. Now they got to go on the road to play Jacksonville, West Coast team traveling east for an early game. I don't like that as much. I'll put them 4th. Patriots, Cowboys, Falcons, Chargers in that order for me. Your team for Week 11. Drake May, stud. Henderson, we gotta see. We gotta see what it looks like with Ramondre Stevenson. He's been limited in his return to practice this week. He's on track to play. What his role looks like is TBD. Judkins is a stud. JSN is a stud. Jefferson's a stud. McBride is a stud. Ekbuk is a stud. I would say you're in damn good shape. I may put Harvey over Henderson if we get any updates in the next 48 hours about the status of J.K. Dobbins. He hasn't been put on injured reserve yet, but according to the Broncos beat reporters, he's a candidate for IR after he picked up an injury on Thursday night against the Raiders. That tells me he's at least not playing this week. So I might put Harvey in over Henderson. But other than that, team looks damn good. That looks like I'm knock on wood for you. I'm not trying to jinx anything. That looks like a team primed for a deep playoff run. Yeah, looks good to me. I got the Harvey rest of season question as a follow-up to the previous question. I like Harvey. Top 24 with a healthy Dobbins. He leaps up 7 or 8 spots at least if Dobbins misses time. And if it's an IR stint, maybe Harvey cracks the top 15, like week to week. Should I trade away Higgins and George Pickens? Was this okay? Would you trade both of these guys? I mean, this is not a weak running back room. Yes, the Bucky Irving injury is annoying and frustrating. I'm not really sure why Tampa didn't just put him on injured reserve weeks ago. But Montgomery is solid. Rico has emerged as a low-end RB1. Travion Henderson put himself on the map this past weekend. I do not know, again, what his role is going to look like with Ramondre Stevenson back in the mix, but there is absolutely no way that New England can completely go away from him after what he did against Tampa. And then Charbonnet is solid depth. He's not flashy. He's not great. He's not very efficient, but Seattle likes him. They give him 12 to 15 carries a week, and he gets goal line opportunities. So you could do worse as an RB4. RB5 when Bucky comes back. I think your running back room is fine. It's not like you don't have an over-the-top stud because Bucky has been hurt, but honestly, Rico has given you a huge boost. And then these other guys are solid complementary pieces, and Henderson has great upside. I mean, what are you acquiring, I guess, is my last question here if you are trading Higgins and Pickens. Because both of those guys are solid as well. And then if you trade them, you're down to Jefferson, Brian Thomas, and Keenan Allen. I'll tell you right now, if you trade T. Higgins and George Pickens, and you just address running back and you don't get a wide receiver in a deal, then I don't like your wide receiver room anymore. Jefferson is a stud, but Brian Thomas has had a wildly disappointing season, and Keenan Allen has fallen way off since the start of the year. So I would not like this wide receiver room if you traded Higgins and Pickens and didn't get a wide receiver in return. I think you're fine, to be completely honest. I think your team is fine. I don't have any issues with it. Yeah, I don't like T for ETN. No. If you T and Monty for okay, I mean, fine. Sure, yes. If you can get an anchor running back for T and Montgomery, fine. Okay. If you can swing that and get a clear-cut stud RB1, sure. Then I'm okay. Then I'm fine with that. I would still prefer that you make it a 2-for-2 trade, get their wide receiver 4, I always tell people this. If you are sending a trade for a 2-for-1 where you are getting the one player back, in all likelihood, the person you're making the trade with is going to have to make a roster move to drop a player anyway. Just take that player back in the trade, whoever it is. I'll be the one to decide who I'm dropping from my team. Let's make this an even 2-for-2 swap. I'm giving you a good wide receiver and a good running back for a stud running back. Give me a depth wide receiver in return. It can be a scrub. I don't care. But let me make the one to make the decision to make the drop because you probably have to drop a guy anyway, unless they just put a bunch of dudes on injured reserve and they have an open roster spot. But if it's an even 2-for-2 swap, it's let me make the decision on who to drop. That would be my only thing. Get an ancillary depth wide receiver in return if you can, just to make it an even 2-for-2. But all that to say, if you can get a stud RB1 for something like that, then I'm okay with it. But don't trade both of them. Not without addressing wide receiver again. Tez, Jennings, Shaheed, pick one. Again, I do encourage you to come back later in the week. Practice reports are everything. Injury updates are everything. I might say Tez this week. He has looked good. He is attached to a good offense. He is attached to a great quarterback, and they are in a matchup where we can expect points. It is Bills versus Buccaneers this week. I don't know what the over-under is going to be for that game, but I promise you it's going to be at least 45-something. There's going to be points scored in that game. And with Tampa on the road especially, I got to imagine they throw the ball a lot against the Buffalo Bills. I would probably take Tez. But come back later in the week if you can. And we'll dissect any updates in the form of practice reports and injury updates. But probably Tez. Probably Tez. And then drop Reed for Tucker. Who's that? Jaden Reed? I mean, if your wide receiver depth is fine, sure. Jaden Reed? I'm not thinking of any other. I'm not misremembering any Reeds, am I? It's just Jaden Reed. It's got to be. I mean, yeah, if your wide receiver depth is solid, sure. Because I don't know when Reed is coming back. Yeah, I mean, sure. Tucker's he's not like the direct handcuff to Bucky, but he is something of a handcuff to Bucky. And he did get more work this past week against New England, so sure. I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. Do we have a timeline to return for Jaden Reed? I'm going to look that up real quick. The target for Jaden Reed's return is either Thanksgiving, which is in 2 weeks, or the week after, against the Bears. So week 13 or 14. And then, of course, if he comes back, that's great. What does he even look like post-injury? If your wide receivers are fine, if you feel confident about your wide receivers, I'm okay with it. Just to get some running back depth. There's never too much running back depth. We can never have too much running back depth. Trade Saquon for Justin Jefferson. You have Tucker, Slayton, McLaurin, Parker, Washington. You have Saquon, Dowdle, Chase Brown, and Aaron Jones. So your running backs are solid. Your wide receivers are hurting. I'm trying to think. Would I prefer to tell you to trade Rico? Both of those guys are RB1s. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is a stud, but he's not, the Vikings offense is a little bit more up and down this year because J.J. McCarthy is taking his lumps. Like, he's basically a rookie, getting his first career game action this year. He's missed a lot of time. Jefferson's only got, 2 touchdowns this year, so he hasn't been a huge scoring threat. He had 12 targets. That was actually a season high this past week against Baltimore, but he only turned it into 4 for 37. He's been solid this year. He's had two incredible weeks where he cleared 120 yards receiving. He's cleared 75 yards receiving 3 other times. He just missed it a 4th time. I mean, he's been a high floor guy, Jefferson has. He has not been the typical wide receiver 1, top 3 ceiling play that he is capable of, because I think there's been some ups and downs, some peaks and valleys with the Vikings offense this year, and I'm not sure that that's not going to change again as McCarthy is navigating his first season as a starter. I would aim higher. If you're going to trade Saquon, I need CeeDee. I need Amon-Ra. You're not gonna You're not going to get Jamar Chase. You're not going to get Puka. You're not going to get JSN. But, like, could you get Amon-Ra? Could you get Egbuka? I'd rather have Egbuka than Justin Jefferson rest of the way. And again, that's not any disrespect on Justin Jefferson, the individual player. It's everything to do with the situation. Jefferson is in an offense that is going through its peaks and valleys this year with a rookie quarter. Well, McCarthy's essentially a rookie, his second year, first full season playing and starting. And he hasn't even played a full season. He missed like 5 weeks. Egbuka has become the Bucs wide receiver 1. He's catching passes from a locked-in, established, veteran quarterback playing at a high level in Baker Mayfield, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are dust, respectfully. They've had great, incredible careers. Evans, a Hall of Fame career. But they're not doing anything the rest of this season. Evans for sure, and Godwin is trending in that way. Like, I'd rather have those guys than Justin Jefferson this year. If you're going to trade Saquon, aim higher. Rico Dowdle for Justin Jefferson? Okay, fine. That's slightly more palatable. Not Saquon. Not Saquon. I would tell you to aim higher. I would tell you to aim higher. Trade away Derrick Henry for Quinshawn and Alec Pierce. I don't really want to trade away Derrick Henry, but that's not bad. It's like, who would I guess it comes down to, what does the rest of your team look like? Is your running back depth strong? Is your wide receiver depth hurting a little bit? And therefore, like, that's the thought process behind this trade. The Ravens are rolling right now. Henry looks like he's back to being, a high-end, low-end RB1 with higher-end RB1 upside just because he's Derek freaking Henry. But Judkins is not far behind. I know Judkins didn't have, like, his best game this past week against the Jets, but he's still awesome. He has proven that in a very short amount of time. And to pick up Alec Pierce as well, if your wide receiver depth is hurting, I'm okay with this. I don't love it, but I'm okay with this. You have Amon-Ra and Lamb. Okay, so you're quite good at wide receiver. I might get a little greedy here. I might get a little greedy here. I might tell you to try to, can you get whoever the next best wide receiver is on this person's roster who is better than Alec Pierce? Could you try to take advantage of Derrick Henry's name recognition because he's Derrick freaking Henry and give me Judkins and your wide receiver 3 instead of your wide receiver 4? Can you get a little greedy? Because you don't need wide receiver help. But if you get an offer that you can't refuse, then that changes the game. That changes the game. You have Achane and Henry, so it would become Achane and Judkins and Pierce. I would want to know if you can squeeze a little bit more out of that because I do quite like Derrick Henry rest of the way. The Ravens are rolling. Like, Lamar is back. They're on their win streak. They are looking like the division favorites, even with their current record. They're rolling. Like, the vibes are back to being as expected in Baltimore. If I'm trading Derrick Henry, I'm going to get a little bit greedy. I would try to ask for Judkins and then whoever their next best wide receiver is that's better than Pierce. Get a little greedy. It's Derrick Henry. You can certainly try. I have a super from Jose. Appreciate it, Jose. Thank you so much. Appreciate the support. You have Watson, Pierce, Hunt, DeMarcado. Okay, Slate, blah blah blah. Lots of options. Tucker, Slayton, Mooney, Washington. Do you pick up Fareed or Shaheed? I do like Rashid Shaheed quite a bit. I do not think he should be on waivers. What's Darnell Mooney been doing recently? I know he dropped a big pass for the Falcons against the Colts, and he has been like usurped in targets on a per-game basis this year by Kyle Pitts. He's got 13 catches for 190 yards this year. He had 8 targets, 1 catch. Yeesh. Yeah, drop Darnell Mooney, Jose, for Rashid Shaheed. No question. He has no more than 4 targets 4 catches in a game this year, and that happened all the way back in September. I mean, over the past month and a half, Darnell Mooney has 6 catches. Over the past month and a half, Darnell Mooney has 6 catches on the season. I am dropping him for Rashid Shaheed, and I am not thinking twice about it. And the beauty of this move now is you can probably get Shaheed at a decent discount because he just got traded. Is the production going to match what he was doing in New Orleans? That's a fair question. That's a fair concern. But Shaheed is so much more talented than Darnell Mooney. Maybe not so much more, but right now I would much rather have Shaheed than Darnell Mooney. Mooney had a solid year last year, but that was with Kirk Cousins. He has fallen off a cliff since Michael Penix was inserted as the starter. That started last year, and it has not changed this year. Mooney is not a hold. I would absolutely drop him for Shaheed. Take that roll of the dice. Sam Darnold is playing much better football than Michael Penix right now, so I'd rather have a receiver attached to him than a receiver attached to Penix. And Shaheed's role should only continue to ramp up. They only just traded for him. I would contend that his stock will continue to go up. It's at a low point now, but that's just because of the uncertainty of being on a new team and an unpredictable role. Bet on talent. Rashid Shaheed is talented. They traded for him. They are headed for the playoffs. They have a good offense. I want Rashid Shaheed. I don't want Darnell Mooney. That is a clear move for me. And then you can probably wait on Jayden Reed for waivers to clear. You probably don't need to spend any fab on him if you want to stash him on injured reserve. If you have an injured reserve spot where you can stash him, it sounds like he's coming back in a couple of weeks. I don't know if he's going to be fantasy relevant, right? He was dealing with a Jones fracture earlier this year. That stuff hurts, takes time to get back and to overcome. Those are painful injuries. The Jones fracture. It's like a bone, isn't it? It's like a tiny bone on like your pinky toe. It's the spot where you need to plant, like it's the edge of your foot where you need to plant to make cuts. Like it's an incredibly painful injury. I'm not a doctor. Feel free to fact check me if somebody has better information than I do. I think it's like your 5th metatarsal or something. #anatomy. Anyway, it's not an easy injury to come back from. So Jayden Reed's he's an interesting IR stash, sure, but he's not a priority add for me because even when healthy, he had not been a consistent fantasy asset dating back to last year. He could blow up for sure, and he's talented, but he goes hot and cold as far as his production. Shaheed is the guy that I want from these names, Jose, and Mooney for me is an easy drop to make that happen. Yeah, Shaheed for Mooney. But everybody else is absolutely worth hanging on to. I wouldn't get rid of anybody else. Mooney for sure. Oh, they're all on waivers. Oh, crap. Sorry. I just went on a whole spiel. I'm sorry I wasted your time. Okay, so keep Shaheed. I saw I have, and I thought I defaulted to, oh, you have these guys on your team. Okay. I would prioritize Pierce first, and I could drop Jayden Reed for him. I can drop Jayden Reed for all of these guys. But I would go Pierce, then Watson, then Kareem Hunt, just because grab some running back depth, sure. DeMercado might be viable for another week or two. We don't know what Trey Benson's timeline to return is yet, so not 100% sure when or if DeMercado loses his job, but it could be soon. Slayton could be without Jackson Dart this week, so you can leave him there. I would probably put Parker Washington fourth ahead of DeMercado. He's going to have a regular role rest of the way because Travis Hunter was put on injured reserve. Then DeMercado, just running back depth. Then Tucker. I like Tucker. He's a talented player. He's on a bad offense, so I don't love that for him. Slayton, Mooney is last for me and not on the radar for me at all. His production has fallen off a cliff since Michael Penix took over last year as the starter. Pierce won, even though he's on bye this week. He looks good. Watson, if you need if you need somebody this week, then Watson won. If you can wait, Jose, then Pierce won. So those two are 1 and 2, depending on whether you need a guy this week versus stashing a guy for multiple weeks. Pierce 1, Watson 2, Hunt 3, Washington 4, DeMercado 5, Tucker, Slayton, Mooney. You need a wide receiver, then Watson. I would say Watson because he's going to play this week. You know, Jaden Reed's not back yet. Golden missed this past week, so you know we'll see what his availability looks like. Dontavian Wicks still can't catch the football, and Romeo Doubs suffered a chest injury last night. I don't know what his status is for this week, but he suffered an injury all the same. Watson, if you need a guy this week, Watson would be number 1, and then Pierce. And then I guess if you really, really need a running or a wide receiver this week, then I would bump Washington up to 3rd over Kareem Hunt. Yeah, Gibbs. Okay, Gibbs, Achane, Brees. Okay, you don't need a running back. Okay, so for you specifically, Jose, Watson, Pierce, Parker, Washington, Hunt, DeMercado, Tucker, Slayton, Mooney. Yep, that's where I would go. Sorry, I misunderstood the question at first. I apologize for the wasted time. I'm here pounding the table. Pick up Rashid Shaheed. You already have him. Yeah, Watson won since you need a wide receiver this week, and I would probably just go ahead and fire him up. It's a good matchup against the Giants, and the Packers are hurting at wide receiver. Yeah, Watson, Pierce, Parker, Washington in that order, and then Kareem Hunt. Appreciate the super. Appreciate the double up. You didn't have to do that. Very kind of you, Jose. Thank you so much. Let me know if you need anything else. And then and so to that point, just to finish up the question that you initially asked, I'm not dropping Rashid Shaheed, Jose. I'm keeping Shaheed. I'm stashing him. I would drop Jaden Reed. I would drop Jaden Reed for Watson. Okay, I got these questions. I got these trade questions. The Rams defense versus the Seahawks question. Here we are. Appreciate everybody's patience as I work through all these questions. Welcome into any new viewers. I am streaming on Twitter for the first time in ages, so I appreciate everybody's patience as I work through these questions. If you feel like if I'm taking too much time, if you ask a question and I'm taking too long to get to it, feel free to join me in Discord. Second link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. Evergreen open invite, free invite. I make myself available there as I can throughout the week. So you can catch me there if you ask a question in here and it's taking too long and you got to run, you can hit me in Discord. Let's see. You have the Rams defense against the Seahawks. You can pick up another defense. Packers against the Giants, Falcons against the Panthers, Saints against the Jets. Are the Cowboys available? I assume the Patriots aren't available. Is Dallas available? They might be. Coming off their bye week, and they are like totally off the radar because they've been bad this year. But they get the Raiders this week. They traded for Quinnen Williams. DeMarvion Overshown is back from the PUP list. And also, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that the hearts in that locker room are heavy right now. They just lost a teammate. They lost a teammate to, he took his life. Awful. Absolutely awful. Heartbreaking. I can only imagine what something like that might do to galvanize a team. Bring them together. And in their first game without him, you know that they want to have a huge game for him. They want to have a great rest of the season, of course. But this is their first game playing since that happened. And they get a hapless Raiders team. I mean, Brock Bowers is awesome, but and so is Ashton Genty. But Geno Smith stinks. Their offensive line is not good. They lost their best offensive lineman to injury. This past Thursday against the Broncos. The Raiders' offense looks ripe for the picking. I would ask you if Dallas is available, and I may go ahead and pick them up. If they're not, the Packers against the Giants should be fine. The Packers have a good pass rush. They have a good defense in general. Russell Wilson might be starting for the New York Giants. Dart is in the concussion protocol, so that's a juicy matchup that you want to target. Russ is cooked, so we can absolutely target him if the opportunity presents itself. I may put the Cowboys first if they're available, but I would put the Packers second. Jose does Rocky 1-1. He gave me 2 supers. I very much appreciated. Not necessary, but very much appreciated. Especially because I went through a whole spiel that was initially incorrect. So thank you. And someone tried offering a trade for Jaylen Warren. You have McCaffrey and Saquon. Would I trade Jaylen Warren for Rashee Rice? Yeah. I really like Jaylen Warren rest of the way. I do. I think he's got RB1 upside the rest of the way with his schedule and with how much work he is getting. But we're talking about Rashee Rice, who is a top 5 wide receiver the rest of the way. I've been calling Jaylen Warren a buy candidate for a couple of weeks now, but if you can turn him into Rashee Rice, I think you have to do it. I would, if you can make the trade bigger, include a wide receiver, a lesser wide receiver in the deal. So Warren and a depth wide receiver for Rice and get one of their depth running backs in the trade. So at least that helps your depth a little bit. Especially to protect you when McCaffrey goes on bye. But if somebody offered me Rashee Rice for Jaylen Warren, I'm never a proponent of trading valuable running back depth, but when it's for a top 3 to 5 receiver in the NFL, I think you got to do it. I think you got to say yes to that. As someone who is bullish on Jaylen Warren for the rest of the season, we're talking about Rashee freaking Rice. I would do that trade. I would try to expand it. Get a depth running back in return. Throw a depth wide receiver back if that's what it takes. But I would do it. Rashee Rice is a difference maker. At a higher level than most. He's awesome. Rashee Rice is awesome. So yeah, I would do it. Troy Franklin or Tez Johnson. Yeah, so this could change. It's early in the week. Start sit questions on Tuesday. My answer could change within 24 hours. My answer could change in 1 hour. The Broncos get the Chiefs. Troy Franklin has been solid, but Bo Nix hasn't been solid. Tez Johnson has been solid, and Baker Mayfield has been solid, and they could be in a shootout this week against Buffalo. My initial thought here is Tez Johnson. I think I saw a stat somewhere that Tez has 4 catches in 3 straight games. He's involved regularly, And Chris Godwin is not walking through that door anytime soon. Neither is Mike Evans. Come back Thursday if you can, or Saturday. Again, for anybody who missed it, I will be live again multiple times this week. Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, ahead of Thursday Night Football. Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, exclusively for Start Sit Help. When we have more details, practice reports, injury updates, all that good stuff, and general vibes on the week. We get those too as the week progresses. My first thought here is Tez Johnson. But if you can come back later in the week, I would encourage it just to get a more definitive answer. And do you drop Jordan Mason for Spears or Kareem Hunt? I mean, Mason looks pretty uninspiring at this point. I would be fine with dropping him for either one of these guys. I guess I would probably pick. I almost said Spears. Am I going to say Spears? Obviously, Hunt is on the better offense, but Isaiah Pacheco is coming back. Spears shares the backfield with Tony Pollard. The one thing that is different, Spears looks a lot better right now than Pollard does. Hunt looks solid, but he is older. But the Chiefs are a much better offense. I tend to lean players on better offenses, especially at this stage of the season. Spears is insanely talented, but he is held back somewhat by how bad the Titans' offense is. I'll say Hunt, but I would drop, if you miss on Hunt and can get Spears, I would be fine with that too. But I would probably rank Hunt first. Okay, we are coming up on the end of the chat. If anybody needs anything else, feel free to let me know. I did respond to this one. This was the trade about Henry for Quinchon and Pierce. I said get greedy, try to ask for a little bit more based on Henry's name recognition. Trey Tucker, Debo, this is a pick 3. Okay. Probably not Wandale without Dart. Dobbs is banged up. Debo is old. I guess Trey Tucker has a chance to make a big play. Dallas did shore up their defensive line with the trade of Quinnen Williams. And they get Overshown back, so their linebackers, I mean, he's kind of like an edge linebacker hybrid type of player. But their secondary is still not great. So Trey Tucker could make a play. I will say Rachaad White, Tet, and then maybe Trey Tucker. So again, with all the questions, the start sit questions, same. My answer at the end of the day is the same for the start sit questions. We just don't have all of the information that we need yet as far as injury updates and practice reports. Once we get that information and we have a little bit clearer of a picture of what we're going into this weekend, then I can make a couple more definitive calls. So I encourage you to come back later in the week if you can. Rachaad White and Tet McMillan would be guys I definitely am getting into my lineup. And then that third spot, we don't know if Dobbs is going to be available for this week. We don't know if Tet's going to be in the injury report. He was on the injury report last week. Will Jackson Dart clear concussion protocol, and that makes Wandale somewhat more viable? There's a lot of questions here about these names. So I would pencil in Rachaad White, and I would pencil in Tet McMillan. The third guy, I would encourage you to come back later in the week when we know more about injury designations for some of these players. Okay, we are at the end of the chat. I got all this stuff. This was a part of Jose's very generous super, so I took care of that. So I think I got every question. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out this evening. Thank you especially to those who had the patience to wait to get their questions answered. But that may do it for me this evening. Special shout out, of course, as always, to all of the members that I saw today. I saw Sport Dog, I saw Greg, I saw Kevin, I saw E111, I saw Crumply Heads, I saw Rojo. Were those all of the members that I saw today? I think those are all the members that I saw today. Appreciate all my members and your continued support. Shout out Jose for the very generous supers. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support of the channel very much. And all of you, old and new, whether you've been here before, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, welcome in. Anybody who followed me on Twitch tonight, I streamed on Twitch for the first time in a couple of years at least. Finally figured out how to sync these things simultaneously. Appreciate everybody coming in, hanging out, talking shop, talking football. I will be back on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, ahead of Thursday Night Football, ahead of Patriots-Jets. And that one's going to matter because we'll have a little bit more of a clear picture on what to expect from Travion Henderson and the Ramondre Stevenson breakdown. At least we could. So making a call on Henderson in your starting lineup that night will be, I'm sure, of utmost interest to a lot of you, myself included. I've got Henderson in multiple scenarios, so I'm curious to see, do I play him on Thursday night? We shall see. But depending on your other options, it could be worth it. Could be worth it. Warren and Debo for Rice and Tracy. Yes. I would. Like, Tracy is, like, you're just getting whatever, like, some running back depth just to, like, give yourself another option. To get Rashee Rice, yeah, man, I would. I would do that deal. I like Jaylen Warren a lot. Rashee Rice is a top 3 to 5 receiver rest of the way. I would do that. I would absolutely do that. And then Marks versus Harvey this week. Hey, if Dobbins is out, Harvey. Probably Woody Marks if Dobbins is miraculously available this week, but Dobbins is according, this is from the horse's mouth, from the Broncos beat reporters, the people who cover the team every day. J.K. Dobbins is a candidate for injured reserve. If he misses time, it's Harvey to the moon as soon as this week. So, Harvey. Again, if Dobbins misses. If Dobbins is playing and he's fine, then maybe Woody Marks. But if Dobbins is out, I would definitely go Harvey. And yes, Tracy's going to be blah, right? He is what he is. He's a lackluster, not that interesting. He'll have some decent weeks here and there, but he's never going to win you a week. He's never going to have that type of performance. But he's decent depth to offset the loss of Warren to pick up Rashee Rice. Like, that's what makes him worth it. He is a warm body that you can turn to in a pinch for a week or two if you need it to acquire a top 5 wide receiver. Yeah, I would do the trade. I would make that happen. Okay. All right. If you miss me this evening, there's multiple ways that you can get a hold of me. You can ask questions in the form of a comment on this stream or any videos and streams on the channel. I will make sure to get to it. Again, one more time, if you are not in my Discord and you would like to be, second link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. It is a free evergreen invite. You can get questions answered over there, either from me. You can crowdsource from the community. whoever gets to it first, really. And I'm especially active in there on, during early international games when I keep the Sunday spot open to watch the international games. This is the last week for an early game, final international game of the year, or at least one in Europe. I don't know if there's a Mexico City game coming up, but that wouldn't be an early game. That would probably be a night game, or at least a late afternoon game. But the Europe games are done after this week, so the early games are over. So after this week, I will be back to my Sunday morning streams. Usually kick those off around 11 a.m. Eastern. This will be the final week without them. But I can be available in Discord that morning as needed leading up to the Week 11 slate. But I think that'll do it for me tonight. Appreciate everybody again for coming in and hanging out. I will see you guys on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, ahead of Patriots-Jets. And best of luck on waivers. Go get Alec Pierce. Go get Christian Watson. If Joe Burrow's out there, pick him up. He should be on rosters. I think that about does it. Enjoy your evenings. And thanks again for your time. Have a good night, everybody.